Um, Great. Well, welcome to our introduction to IDPro membership. I am Heather Vesant, the Executive Director and President of IDPro. And in my role, I'm really shepherding the organization and helping let folks know about our organization. If you've got any questions, you can drop it into the chat. We'll also have an area, a time for you to ask for Q&A afterwards. And so I'll also record this. So I always like to start with our mission, which is to globally foster ethics and excellence in the practice and profession of digital identity. A lot of issues and problems that we have in security, in the security space, can be solved with good identity. But the identity space is so large, there's so much to know, and identity systems, interact and dovetail with a lot of other systems within an organization that it can be a little bit complex to understand the right way to do things. And so there are a lot of vendors out there trying to sell solutions and come up with ideas that you can technically implement. But there's no organization that really focuses on supporting the human being, the practitioner. And that's what we at IDPro are really focused on, is supporting the human being to be the best identity practitioner, have the knowledge, have the resources, like the community to ask, real world questions, and really kind of like, what's it like, and build one's knowledge. Because if you've been in the identity space for about 10 years, you realize that the rabbit hole goes really deep and it's really hard to know everything that's happening in the space. IDPro supports identity practitioners in 3 ways. We have our vendor neutral learning material, which we call our body of knowledge. And we like to think about this as our foundational knowledge. So folks that are new to the identity space, maybe they started out working in IT or cybersecurity, but they're doing some identity work now in their role. This material here helps get the foundational knowledge and understanding that one needs to have to really understand the complexities of digital identity. We also have a certification called the CIDPro certification. It was developed by practitioners for practitioners. And in cybersecurity, they have the CISSP exam for cybersecurity professionals. And it has a little bit of identity on that. But the CIDPro exam was really mapped. I wouldn't say it was mapped. We wanted to follow like the way the CISSP was done, but really focus it only on identity and digital identity scenarios. So it's a very rigorous, robust certification, but we've calibrated it so that folks that have 2 or more years of hands-on experience in identity and access management should be able to pass it. And finally, last but certainly not least, is our community. And we have an online community that is based mostly around Slack. And then we also have discounts to meet folks in person at a lot of different events around the world. So I'll just give a little bit more information about each one of these areas. So starting with the body of knowledge, these are 31 articles and we're always adding to it. And if you think about what these articles are, they're more of an academic journal than like a blog post. And they cover a variety of foundational identity and access management topics. I thought I would just pull up this one as an example. This is our introduction to IAM architecture. You see it has a V2. What this means is this is the second revision of this article. Once an article is written, we check on it every year to see if there's any new stuff that's come out in the space that we need to amend or revise the article. So there's a process for keeping the information fresh. I'll make this a little bit bigger because I think we get a little bit of sidebar here. You can download the files. We've got an abstract. We've got authors. And so there's also an opportunity, if you're a subject matter expert in some area of identity and access management, that you could write or co-write an article, which would, be great for you if you want to build your brand in the identity space. We've got our terminology. So for every article, we outline the terminology that's in that article, as well as we have a big terminology article. And then we go into the the meat of the article. And the idea here is that if you are new to the space, or maybe you just want to kind of fill some gaps, or learn more, you can read these articles. They're vendor neutral, and they're actually free. You don't actually need to be a member of IDPro to access these, but the membership dues do go to supporting this project. So here's a couple more articles of the kind of types of things that we cover. Most of the articles are about IAM techniques and tools and strategies that are currently active in the enterprise space. So we've got a lot of intros, but then we also have, some other kind of interesting things like non-human account management. I personally really think non-human identity is a really interesting and exploding space with IoT devices and systems that are needing to access, like systems that need to access systems for authentication and to get access and to share data. Account recovery is clearly something that's really important. Multi-factor authentication, customer service, identity with customer service. That's kind of a specific thing, but you can kind of see like the author here was from Amazon, and so they had some deep knowledge about how Amazon did it, and then they went ahead and wrote this. I will note that these articles are all peer reviewed, and they have to go through an approval process before they are posted to ensure that they are vendor neutral and that the content is accurate. So I want to talk about our certification, the IDPro Identity Professional Certification. If you think about the body of knowledge as like the book text, the CIDPro exam is kind of the certification that's like the proof saying that, hey, I'm an expert in digital identity. And so we kind of have the CIDPro can be valuable for both individuals and organizations. From the individual perspective, if you want to kind of like either show that you have a broad identity and access management support, your background, it will be the credential that says like the CISSP shows that, hey, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to cybersecurity. With the CIDPro certification, it means that you have the foundational knowledge in digital identity online. So we have a lot of folks that take the CIDPro certification in order to kind of like prove that they have the experience. And IDPro, we are a nonprofit, and so we're not like trying to focus on a specific vendor or specific style of technology implementation. So that credential really holds some weight versus not like the credentials from vendors don't hold weight, but those would be vendor specific credentials. For organizations that are looking to hire or retain their employees, or even if they want to grow and encourage their employees, they can use the CIDPro certification as kind of like a marker on a career path for growth. And so some of our members use the CIDPro certification as a way to kind of like grow their internal teams and from like say an individual contributor to maybe more an external facing consultant or something like that. And as the process of going through that promotion plan, they'll go through and get the CIDPro certification. What's on the certification exam? So we've got 5 basic objectives that we evaluate on. And again, this is all vendor neutral. Basic idea elements of an identity solution, a little bit of information into identifiers, the identity life cycle, and identity proofing. We do have a small bit that talks specifically about security for identity. So what are the kinds of things you need to think about in order to really understand how to do identity well and securely? Because if if good identity can solve some security issues, and it's not just those security issues that are solved from like security or IT perspective. We also want to make sure that you have an understanding of rules and standards. And for this means like international standards or, federal or standards like GDPR, the California Consumer Protection, but then also technology standards like NIST standards or W3C standards. And then finally, section 5 really talks about kind of some of the operational considerations that you need to think about when you're implementing all of this knowledge into a specific scenario, because identity isn't like cookie cutter. You can't, like, not every situation may not be exactly the same for the other. So how do you like really understand the broad points that are applicable to the various situations so that you can kind of put them all together for that specific scenario to make sure that's secure? So the way we kind of look at the learning path is, if you think about the body of knowledge as kind of like the book knowledge, the foundational knowledge, we like to see that implemented. We like to see that with 2 or more years of hands-on experience. And the reason that's the case is because the exam doesn't test on the book knowledge. The exam tests on scenarios and the applied understanding of that knowledge. So it's really like you really want to understand the practical implementation of that knowledge. And then what we've done is we put together a lot of some nice exam preparation, a practice exam. We've got a great webinar that goes into a lot of details about the IDPro specifically. So if you want to, like, if you've got questions about what that is, we've got one on replay. You can look at it. And this will all, if you take the understanding of the body of knowledge and you've got a couple years of experience and you do some minimal exam prep, you should be able to pass the IDPro exam. I've heard, though, folks say it's not an easy test to pass. You know, you can't like go into it and wing it. These are just some high level benefits. And if you're interested in that, I'll drop these links in the chat. We've got a replay up on our YouTube channel, and we've got a lot of new webinars coming up for Europe, US is about an hour before this time in June, and then in July we'll do an APAC one as well. So I like to talk about one of our organizations, Amazon, is kind of like a case study of how they utilize their IDPro membership. So Amazon's got a great membership. Our membership levels are set up based on the number of individual members you might want to have. We also have individual membership. And so then Amazon also bought like bundles of the IDPro certification and basically made it available to everyone in their identity access management team. What this resulted in was team building, because the teams that wanted to learn IDPro got together and created study groups, which allowed them to develop the materials and learn the materials and have discussion, but it then also allowed them to be able to have team building. Some of their seniors are able to get more recognition based on their knowledge and experience by contributing an article to the body of knowledge and also participating on the IDPro Slack channel, which is a great place for folks to be able to, you know, ask questions of their peers. And it's also a great place if you're not, if you don't want to be active, if you'd rather lurk, for you to just really kind of like learn the, you know, the ins and outs and just read the conversations that are happening and learn a lot that way. And that kind of hits the next bullet point here. The more junior folks in their team have an incentive to learn. So we've got tons of materials for folks that are new to or new-ish to identity, and that really helps the newer folks to identity get up to speed quickly. And then also just being able to participate and be in the community, have a lot of that great knowledge rub off on them. And so Amazon really uses their membership for recruiting and retention. I want to put a screenshot in here for our Slack channel. This is a screenshot of our onboarding channel. And so once you activate your membership, you'll be dropped into the onboarding channel, and kind of helps you orient yourself. We've got tons of great folks in the community, and they can be very active, and we have a lot of different channels. And you can see this is just a thread from a few months ago that we had almost a dozen folks replying to and having a conversation with, and over 115 replies. So it's very active, and folks love to share their knowledge. And I will just say, it's a very friendly community, very nice. Everyone wants to help each other. Here's just some great quotes. When I first joined the organization, I asked folks, I was like, why did you join IDPro? And these were some of their responses. Um, it's a great organization, whether you've been in the space for 20, 25 years, or you've just been in the space for 2 years. To support some of the community building, we also get some pretty nice discounts for events. Right now, we've got 25% happening at Identiverse. European Cloud Identity Summit is actually happening this week right now in Berlin. We did have a 25% discount for that. And we're negotiating a 50% discount for Authenticate. And we also have some other discounts that we get throughout the year. So it really makes it easy for folks to be able to meet in person. And in some cases, the discounts may cover the price of membership. Here's some of our corporate members. We're growing every day. I just had a new member join yesterday, a new corporate member join yesterday. You know, a lot of these names look like they are US based companies, but they have global global identity teams. For example, Target and Mass Mutual have teams in Ireland, US, and India. So we do actually have quite a international membership, despite the fact that a lot of these look like they're US companies. And then this slide, I know it's very difficult to read. Like I said, we have individual membership as well for organizations that say like the folks want to join, but they can't get their organizations to join. So we have individual members that are that work at all of these organizations. So it's not just our membership isn't just these corporate members. We do actually have a lot of representation by Fortune 100. So just to kind of recap, you see organizations join IDPro in order to hire and retain talent. Some want to offer a very clear career path development. Others want to just grow their team's identity skills in a more general way. Folks are interested in participating in the industry for networking and sharing, and whether it's online or in person. And last but certainly not least, folks who've been in the identity space for quite some time know how challenging it is. And they just want to give that knowledge back and make the path a little bit easier for those that are just starting in identity today. So I'm going to talk about, I can talk about our membership levels. So we basically have an individual level where folks can come in and join for one person. It's $150. We do have a sole proprietor, this ASH level. It's really just like for an independent consultant. Our organizational members start at the Oak level. And if you'll look at them, the way to orient this is you can look at it per individual member access seat. And so at the Oak level, you've got 5, Bronze, you've got 25. All of the levels give you access to our members forum. We have a monthly newsletter. You get the discounts. There's opportunity to participate in the leadership committees. We do a skills program survey that we just finished, and we share that knowledge to our members first, and then get a little bit of branding. If you're interested in the IDPro exam, the silver level is our entry level that starts giving that as a corporate benefit, where you'll get one IDPro exam per year, and then you get to unlock 25% off discount for any others. And then depending on how many members are in your team that you might want access to, you can choose which level makes the most sense. Do you have any questions about this? Or any questions in general?
Well, about this, that seems pretty clear to me. So, yeah.
Okay.
Also pretty clear to me. So no further questions. Thank you.
Okay. So if you guys are interested, like next steps, if you want to join as an individual member, you can go to this link, and this is on our website. And so you can also just like sign up here and get started. If you're interested in corporate membership, you can email me. If you're interested in corporate membership and you might want, and you've got some leadership or some executives that you need help convincing of the value, I'm happy to come in and do this presentation or share some information about that. And if you are interested in IDPro, you can, watch the replay of the webinar or take a new one. So yeah, so that's basically the introduction to IDPro membership and the value. And so got through it pretty quickly. Is any questions?
I had some, but more about my own use case or my own. So I don't know if it
Sure.
interests
Yeah,
everyone.
sure, definitely.
Because
Yeah.
right now I'm working more in like identity verification and not that much into access management. And it seems to be like a big focus of like a book of knowledge, and so. And I'm as well maybe like some interested in digital identity, and so I don't know if that really fits my need, because I think like IDPro probably has more about access management than rest of like more general topics.
So I think that's a really interesting point. IAM, identity and access management, is kind of like the corporate term that is used for all digital identity and identity related stuff. So it's not, don't think of it as like, it's like identity and or access management. So it's not only the access management part of identity. It is also the broader like use cases for digital identity, like multi-factor authentication and like ways to think about things and here project management. So I think that the term, I mean, and to be honest, I didn't even really call it IAM for many, many years. I was just like, I work in digital identity. And I went like some of the people that are more corporate and I will also say one of the goals of IDPro is to kind of professionalize the identity role. And one of the ways we're trying to do that is put this terminology on it, identity and access management. But I think that I think that you would be honing it in a little too much if you thought everything is access management, because you can ask all kinds of questions about digital identity. For example, my area of expertise, I'm a trained futurist, so I know a lot more about privacy and security and decentralized identity and verifiable credentials and data sharing and all of that kind of stuff. And that is like, and for a long time I was like, oh, is that, there's, it's not identity and access management per se, but it does fit under this. And this is the kind of the umbrella where someone like me who's got that kind of background would be in, because there's no other place for that. So does that make sense?
Yep. And what led me to think that is that when you look on the market and look at an identity and access management solution, it's really more focused on access management than like the identity part. So
because access management's it's an easier problem to solve, and like for and companies that are selling something like I mean, that's the whole thing. Identity is so hard. No one company can create a solution for identity. And so what companies do is they try to carve out like an area where, okay, I can provide a solution for this. The market's going to pay for it. I need to frame it, brand it, productize it that way. And I think that's, access management is a really like defined area that you can come up with really defined solutions for and probably sell to the market. Hence, it's an easier sell than like a more general digital identity solution. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I am not like access management is not my area of expertise at
Hmm.
all. Like I know about it theoretically, and the scenarios of it, but I've never worked in an organization where I've been implementing that. My area focuses on, a bunch of other things that are important for identity and also security, but they're not necessarily like bread and butter of access management.
So
So
in your own use case, like having that CID certification is still useful, even though you don't work in really like access management side of it.
yeah. I mean, I think it would be, because in a way it's like, well, you also kind of have to think about what kind of person you are. Do
Mhm.
you like certifications? Do you have other certifications? And where do you want to go with your career? If you want to focus on identity or digital identity space, the certifications gonna give you more credibility,
Mhm.
whether you are working for yourself, whether you are wanting to find a new job, whether you are, if you're hiring teams, if you're hiring folks, that, okay, someone who's got the IDPro certification has like the foundational, 101 knowledge. And also in the process of going through like like studying for it, you'll fill some gaps. Like
Mhm.
you'll, study up on some areas that maybe are not your area of expertise. And that's very common for folks that have been in the space for a really long time. Say they focus on workplace management, workplace identity, and they don't really know much about consumer. Well, it's an opportunity for them to kind of read up on all of that. And then you have like the foundational knowledge, 101 foundational identity knowledge across the board without necessarily having to specialize in it. So, yeah, does that kind of answer your question?
Yep.
We're really trying to build like a big tent for identity professionals, because there's really no place where identity professionals can go to learn and share from each other. And, like we've got people in our community that are just really focused on FIDO and passkeys and using Microsoft tools and stuff. And then there's other folks that are using like ForgeRock or SailPoint or Okta. And, you know, everyone's welcome. You can choose which tool you want to use, and learn about all of them and figure out what might be best for your situation. Or even like, if you're implementing your own systems, your own stuff, you're building your own stuff internally.
Mhm. Right. And would you say that it aims at because I'm not a developer, I'm not a programmer of any kind. I'm more an analyst.
Okay.
Because I think there's like two different levels there of like how deep the knowledge is is required. So you seem to say that this is like aimed at broadly everyone in the space. So I'm guessing that it doesn't require to have any developer knowledge or
No,
mm,
but we do like to say you should have 2 or more years of hands-on experience.
mhm,
And I think that in the Cipro webinar, my colleague Kevin Strader does that one. He's got a slide that talks about like who it's for, like the candidates. And I would
mhm,
encourage you to watch the replay or join one of our upcoming webinars. Um, you can watch the video on like extra fast speed if you want to get through it quickly. Um, but he really goes into a lot of those details about who it's for. Um, the other thing I didn't mention, I often forget to mention this about our IDPro membership. When you're a member of the community, it's not just technical conversations. It's all kinds of conversations about what's happening in the industry. Like, for example, EIC is happening right now in Berlin, and clearly I'm not there. I'm in Southern California. But we've got a channel and folks are posting updates and all kinds of information about that. Um, Gartner IAM Summit, which is very expensive, not a lot of folks can attend. They are, they had a summit earlier this year, and some folks were not able to attend, but were able to look at the decks, and so they posted to one of the channels like, "Hey, I've looked at all these Gartner IAM decks. Like, what do you guys think the trends are? What is happening? Gartner says all this stuff. Like, what do you guys think?" So I mean, like, and that's another thing that's really, you can use what's happening, what kind of conversations happening, what people are talking about. It's kind of like a pulse of what identity professionals are thinking about. And there's no other place to get that knowledge, to get that understanding. I mean, Gartner and all the analysts, they're all about, like selling their services and really expensive. We're a nonprofit. We're not in it for the money. We're in it to support identity professionals because we know how difficult identity can be. And one misconfiguration can have a huge security impact. And, the way you can mitigate that is by just learning from people who've been there. And if you've been around the block or you're experienced in certain areas, like I have super deep subject matter expertise about decentralized identifiers and verifiable credentials. That actually is an area that is a major gap in a lot of folks, our members, because they tend to be more enterprise, implementing more traditional identity solutions. But I think those are really interesting and important new tools and technologies that are going to have a long, slow impact for. So, you don't have to just have technology chops because we all have different kinds of expertise. Like this introduction to project management, like who would have thought like that we needed to have a specific, article about project management for digital identity. But maybe it's important to think about it, and maybe why we might want to plan things a little bit more instead of just kind of doing real fast breaky agile style development. Anyway.
Yeah. Thanks.
Great. Yeah. Pop, do you have any questions?
Okay, yes, I'm from the Netherlands, and it's so that
Mhm.
with a consortium, yes, we want to implement the digital identity for the whole of Europe,
Oh, great. Yes.
based on PKI.
Yeah.
So I make the development for it, and now I'm just talking with the Minister of Interior Affairs in Holland, yes, to see that we can, because we want to join them in the program, and then to join all countries in Europe, yes, for implementing the PKI for everybody in the whole of Europe.
Yeah, well, I think Europe is ahead of the US by the fact that you have GDPR and you really have much more human-centric ideas about using about data and technology. And in the US, we can't California is getting it together a little bit, which is where I live. But
I think that when we started up and we can arrange it in Europe, I think PKI, everybody knows about PKI, but the thing about PKI is when you're logging in with PKI, all your private information, yes, you put it down, but now we work with attributes, with an attributes register, and so then through attributes you can log in the way you want.
I love it.
We want to do it, so you can log in on all levels, not only on the highest level, of course you can, because it's a PKI. The PKI is not for nothing because it's the highest level, but then you also can log in on a lower level. Also with web shops and so on. But the web shop, they are 100% sure that it's you who's logging in. So GDPR for them is not a problem anymore because we do the GDPR for them. Yeah,
Yep.
and therefore
Yep.
they want to pay money for it because they don't have to spend too much money yet for the GDPR. Now, and that's the way we are working on in now in the Netherlands. Yeah.
I
And
love it. And actually, that's what
I want to share. I want to change experience with each other and have ideas with others. Yeah, and that's the reason that I'm interested in IDPro. Yes, and I know Andre Coat.
Oh
Probably.
yeah, great, Andre. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Andre is a very good friend of me. Yeah, and I'm working with him already a long time. Yes, and that's also a reason for me, yes, to join IDPro.
That sounds great. Yeah, and I didn't mention it, but if you're joining as an individual member, that's great. But
Yeah.
For any like corporate member levels, like Oak or higher, if you are government or nonprofit, we'll give you 25% off that rate. So, if
I will start as a personal member, yeah, and afterwards I will join with the total corporate, yes, because now I have a business myself, yes, but the corporate who's implementing those thing in Europe, that will be another entity, yeah, and with that new entity, I will join with that entity as a corporate member. That's the way I'm thinking about it, yeah.
That sounds great. A lot of people do it that way. They join as an individual to kind of check it out to begin with. And then once you experience the value of it, then folks will bring on an organization.
That's it.
Because IDPro really is, and I have a whole onboarding presentation I do. So once you become a member, we kind of go through a little bit more, how to really get involved. IDPro is an organization that you get out what you put in. So once you're on like the Slack and you're a part of the community, you don't even have to, like read or respond to everything. Just kind of like cherry pick what you're interested in. You'll start to really say, oh, there's that, there, there's gems every day. But if you like, I've got some members that they're so busy, they can't make time to join the Slack, and then they don't get the value of it. They don't experience it. And so they don't even know what they're missing. So anyway, that sounds great.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you very much for your introduction and give all the information. It was very helpful for me, yes, to join and to continue. Yeah?
That sounds great. I will drop a link to this presentation in case you want to read it before or read it afterwards. Apparently I can't multitask. And I also will be sending the recording out to you guys' emails. So, and my email address is vesant@idpro.org. And so if you've got other questions, you can just reach out to me. Hopefully though, if you want to join as an individual member, just use that link and you should be able to just walk through that process really, really quickly in order to join.
Good. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Having another like really small question. Did the Discord channel, is it for members or for like CID registered user or?
So it's Slack and it is for all IDPro members.
Okay. So you don't even have to do the certification. So I guess you.
Right. Okay. So
you get politely forwarded to the bucket of knowledge if you ask a question that's too.
No, actually not. Like folks will chime in. So the certification is $750. Our list price. If you come to one of our webinars, or many times throughout the year, we'll have different offers for different discounts. But IDPro individual membership is only $150. And actually that individual membership, you do get a one-time 25% discount to use on SidPro. So if you pass it, good. If you don't pass it, then you'll have to try to dig up another discount code. And we do have a practice exam. So I would recommend so this is what I'd say. join IDPro as an individual. Get on the membership, get on the Slack, think about whether you want to do CIDPro or not. That's separate. You can still be a member. CIDPro is one time. IDPro membership is annual. And then, take the CIDPro exam whenever you feel like comfortable enough. Like, you don't have to do it right now. You can do it in 3, 6, 9, 12 months, and yeah, I would just say that. And then there are channels on the Slack. They're open. It's not like they're closed to you, that talk about the certification. If you've got questions about it, you can ask folks who've already taken it.
Yes.
They're not going to tell you the questions, but they'll tell you kind of the experience. Yeah, I think, and I would just really recommend, if you're curious about it, watch the webinar replay that we did. We just did one, like, what was it, April 29th. So it's only a couple weeks old. It's very fresh. And yeah, it's a great intro. And Kevin Strader, who I work really closely with, he's based in UK. So, and his day job is working a lot of the education stuff at ForgeRock. So, yeah, anyway, don't feel like you have to do CIDPro if you want to just be a member at this time. We have a lot of people that are just members.
Okay. And like the CIDPro as well is a one-time exam, like, because I know there are other certifications that require some amount of retraining every year or so, something like that.
Yes. So you're getting into questions that Kevin covers, but I actually know the answer to this one. It is you take the exam and you get the credential. At this time, we're not like making you like do so many hours of education per year, like the CISSP does. What we instead want to do is develop future exams that are more specialized. And so everyone would start out with this foundational exam. And then if you wanted to specialize in whatever kind of way, you could get that certification in that specialty. And at a certain time frame, and Kevin knows all of this, we'll make sure that foundational exam, the CIDPro exam, is up to date, is taken care of, it's still valid. It doesn't have stuff that's like no one's using anymore. So he's got all that planned out because that is his background. My background was not in education. My background is in entrepreneurship and research. So
okay, thank you so far.
Thank you, Nicholas and Pop. Great to meet you today. And yeah, look forward to seeing you both on the Slack, I hope.
Okay. Yes,
Sure.
I will do. Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Good.
All right. So have a nice